Blue whale. The blue whale is the largest animal known to have ever lived. An adult can grow longer than a basketball court and weigh more than 150 tons. Despite its incredible size, it feeds mainly on tiny shrimp-like creatures called krill. Blue whales live in every major ocean and spend much of their lives traveling between cold feeding grounds and warmer breeding areas. Their enormous bodies show just how much life in the oceans can achieve when supported by water, which helps carry weight that would be impossible on land. Even today, no dinosaur and no other creature has surpassed the blue whale in overall size. Argentinosaurus. Argentinosaurus was one of the largest dinosaurs ever to walk the Earth. It lived around 95 million years ago in what is now Argentina and belonged to a group of long-necked plant eaters called Titanosaurs. Scientists believe it may have reached lengths of more than 30 meters and weighed as much as several elephants combined. Its neck allowed it to feed from tall trees without moving very far, and its massive body probably protected it from most predators. Although only part of its skeleton has been found, Argentinosaurus remains one of the best examples of how gigantic life on land once became. Megalodon. Megalodon was a giant shark that ruled the oceans long before humans appeared. It lived between 23 and 3.5 million years ago and may have reached lengths of nearly 20 meters. Unlike modern sharks, its teeth were the size of a human hand and were designed for tearing through the flesh of large whales. Megalodon was an apex predator that likely had few enemies of its own. Because sharks have skeletons made mostly of cartilage, very little of its body has survived, leaving scientists to reconstruct this giant, mainly from its enormous fossil teeth. Paraceratherium. Paraceratherium was the largest land mammal ever to exist. It lived about 30 million years ago and was a distant relative of modern rhinos, although it had no horn and looked very different from the rhinos we know today. Standing taller than a giraffe and weighing many tons, it used its long neck to reach leaves high in the trees. At a time when many large predators still existed, its sheer size made it one of the most impressive mammals in history. It reminds us that giant animals did not disappear with the dinosaurs. Mammals also had their own age of giants. Shastasaurus. Shastasaurus was a giant marine reptile that lived during the age of dinosaurs. It belonged to a group called ichthyosaurs, which looked somewhat like modern dolphins but were not mammals at all. Some species may have reached lengths of more than 20 meters, making them among the largest reptiles ever to swim in the sea. Unlike many of its relatives, Shastasaurus appears to have fed on smaller prey and may even have used a form of suction feeding. It was perfectly adapted to life in the oceans and spent its entire existence far from land. Arthropleura. Arthropleura was a giant relative of modern millipedes that lived more than 300 million years ago. It crawled through ancient forests long before the first dinosaurs evolved. Some individuals grew to over 2 meters in length, making them the largest known land invertebrates of all time. Although its appearance might seem terrifying, there is no evidence that it was a predator. It probably fed on plants and decaying material scattered across the forest floor. The world it inhabited had higher oxygen levels than today, which may have helped creatures like Arthropleura grow to such extraordinary sizes. Titanoboa. Titanoboa was the largest snake ever discovered. It lived about 60 million years ago in the warm, humid forests of South America, shortly after the extinction of the dinosaurs. This enormous serpent may have reached more than 13 meters in length and weighed over a ton. It was likely an ambush predator that spent much of its time in rivers and swamps, waiting for fish, crocodile relatives, and other animals to come close. The existence of Titanoboa tells scientists that the world after the dinosaurs was much hotter than it is today, creating conditions that allowed reptiles to reach incredible sizes. Dinotherium. Dinotherium was one of the largest elephants ever to walk the earth. It lived across parts of Africa, Europe, and Asia for millions of years and looked both familiar and strange. Its most unusual feature was a pair of tusks that curved downward from its lower jaw instead of upward from the upper one. Standing much taller than modern elephants and weighing many tons, it likely used these tusks to pull branches or strip bark from trees. For a long time, giant mammals like Dinotherium shared the planet with our early human ancestors, making them some of the last great giants of prehistory before most of Earth's enormous animals disappeared.